Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Design Secrets podcast, episode 1. Um, if you've been waiting for a while for this stuff to come out, I mean, you're weird for waiting on something like this from someone like me, but that's just kind of a testament to who you are as a designer, right? Because I'm going to be open, right? We're going to get into the context of this episode, but I'm a little bit about me. If you don't know who I am, if you don't know like what I stand for and my mission and what I firmly believe in, like I'm a huge proponent of design. Context to that, right, is that I like, let's back up for a little bit. Let me give you like a whole backstory to myself that'll probably change and get more refined and to the point over the years. But I've always been like design centric to some degree. And what I mean by that is like I've always been fascinated by design in different mediums. Like it started off, excuse me, when I was young. I mean, I was I had to have been at least like 4, maybe 5 years old, and I remember something about like there are these memories that are ingrained in my mind that I vividly remember. One time I remember. And I think this was like one of the first times I really remember how art affected me was my grandparents. They used to live in a trailer park, and within their little home, their trailer, my grandfather was they were renovating, or they were adding like a wall in there. And I remember there was like a blank sheet of sheetrock that was up on the wall in the hallway. And I remember my grandfather, he drew, like we were able to draw on that piece of the wall, because he was just being cool or nice or whatever. And he allowed us to draw on there. And I remember we were drawing whatever, and he drew a picture of like this car. It was a car and like a man in a car. And anyway, long story short, I remember I looked at it and I stared at it for a long time, and I was just so like captivated by what he was able to create and the emotions that it evoked in me. It was nothing like what we know today, right? But I remember I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I'll never forget that. Like I remember looking at it and I was like, man, that's amazing. Like how did somebody draw that? How did that come from his hands? And like I was just really awestruck by it. And from then on, I just became more aware of people that can draw, right? That's really where it all began, was people that can draw. And again, I was, 4 or 5 years old maybe at the time. Fast forward about, maybe a year or two, I'm like 6, 7, somewhere around there. And this is like really the second impression that I could remember, like I can vividly recall, was I remember we were at my family and I, we were at a relative's house, and this relative used to live way off. So if you don't know this kind of backstory to my backstory, I come from from Texas, right? So there's a lot of rural land out here. And so a lot of relatives of mine, they have a lot of rural property. Well, this one relative of mine is an uncle, and he had a bunch of stuff just kind of like out there on his property. And like he would just like year round just sell this stuff. So it was like, it would all get beaten up by the rain and inclement weather conditions and all that kind of stuff. And so it was like not very well taken care of stuff. I mean, it was pretty much like a junkyard for kids, really, if you will. But I remember we were going through it one day, and I guess he had just laid out some stuff, because there was like some fresh notebooks out there, and they were sketchbooks. Actually, they were blank pieces of paper, like pure blank white pieces of paper. And I remember my cousin, he picked up one of those books and he was drawing it. He started drawing it, and I'll never forget. He drew, of all people, for whatever reason, he drew Fred Flintstone. It's funny now because I'm like, man, Fred Flintstone actually had an impact on my life, but the character anyway. But he drew Fred Flintstone, and I remember like he drew it so well, like so just like as detailed as Fred Flintstone, the one-dimensional character, can be. But I mean, it was exactly like Fred. And I think what I was more taken by was his ability to replicate perfectly. And we're like the same age. We're like both 6, maybe 7 years old. And he replicated almost perfectly this Fred Flintstone character. And I mean, just the way his pencil moved, right? Just so smooth and like without error. And I was just, again, that emotion came back to me. And I remember thinking, like, how is that possible? How can somebody do that? And for some reason, it just captured me again. And so I remember as a young kid, maybe you remember back in the day, listening to this, watching this, your elementary classes would take you to the library, right? And so like we would all run into the library and we would look for books, right? Books that had like the most colorful or like vivid or imaginary covers, right? I mean, kids were picking out books that had like fish with the gills and the like shiny glittery stuff and dragons and all these kinds of things and Clifford and I mean anything you could think of, right? That was back then in the day. And I found myself in this kind of like further off, like a little further off section. It wasn't in the fiction, nonfiction, like it was a little bit further off in this section of the library. And it was almost kind of secluded because I mean, it wasn't really a popular section. But it was a section of sketch books that basically taught you how to sketch. So I was about 7, maybe 8 at this time now. Maybe around the same age, maybe 6, 7 years old. And I remember I found these books that taught you how to draw almost like caricatures. But I mean, these caricatures were different in the sense that like they had 2 ways of viewing them. So like you would view them one way, and then if you flip the image like on its head, it would show you a completely different image. And my goodness, when I say that like something just sparked in me, I don't know what it was, but something just sparked in me. And I remember I checked out like 2 or 3 books that were like that. And I took them home and I just began to study them and study them and study them. And I'm like 6, maybe 7 years old, maybe 8 years old at the time. And I'm just studying these drawing books. And as a kid, I'm just so captivated by it. And I'm really going off on a tangent here away from the purpose of this episode, which is titled The Pixel Perfect Trap, Why Waiting Costs You More. But I'm going to get somewhere with it, I promise. I'm going to land this plane. So I check out these books. I'm studying them like crazy. And I mean, we're talking about like art books, right? I'm just learning how to draw all these things until I get so good at it that I can now draw these things freehand. I think that's what I was trying to achieve. Now looking back in hindsight, I was trying to achieve the ability to freehand these characters and maybe emulate that same emotion for somebody else that would one day watch me draw freehand. And so, that's what I did, and I got it down, right? I was able to draw these characters like the back of my hand. I mean, at that time, it seemed so insignificant, but looking back on it now, that was really the spark of it all. And as I got older, my mediums changed. I was always kind of known for that too. It was like I kept drawing on my free time, like at home and after school and stuff like that. And when most kids were coloring, right, I was actually drawing my pictures to then color. So, and I loved the creative freedom, right? Just be able to draw whatever I wanted. I remember when the very first Spider-Man movie came out with Tobey Maguire back in, I don't even remember, but I was younger at the time, older than I was when I first started, but young at the time, still like a, kid. And I remember drawing, because there were images of Spider-Man all in the newspapers, right? It was a big deal. Marvel wasn't even invented yet. Like, it wasn't even a thing. It was actually a Sony production. God help us. And I remember I would get the images and I would cut them out from the newspaper and I would put them there on like right next to my sketch pad, and I would just draw Spider-Man all day, just drawing Spider-Man. And I had this collage, if I can find it, I'll, post it up. If not, whatever. Actually, I think my brother still has that same image from when I was about 10 years old. And so I remember I would get those images and I would draw Spider-Man all day. Like, he was my subject for a while. And throughout the years, my inspiration changed, my mediums changed. and I began to draw like bigger, more complex images and subjects and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I got into about high school, and I'd heard of this before. My older brother had actually taken the course before me. He said, if you ever get a chance, get into graphic design. It's a course, it's a class, sorry, in high school, and it takes up 2 hours. So 2 class periods. We had like A, B schedules, and the classes were like an hour long at that time. This was back in high school. And I remember he said, take that class if you can, because it takes up 2 class periods. And really all we're doing all day is we're on the computer and we're just, I forgot, I kind of tuned out what he said at that point. I just remember thinking, oh, 2 class periods, like just doing basically nothing. That sounds awesome. I was in middle school at the time. And so he graduates, whatever. I go into high school, and I remember I saw it on there. I remember it just kind of rung a bell. It was like graphic design. Like I remember that, and had no idea what it was, right? No idea what it was. And let alone know that it would change my life forever or the trajectory of my life. And so I went in, and I was like, yeah, extracurriculum, graphic design, cool. Like, let's do it. And they're like, oh, just so you know, it does take up 2 hours, right? So it's 1 hour is for one part of the class, and the other hour is the other part. And I said, oh, that's fine. I'll give up a spot in my calendar or on my schedule, right? Reluctantly. And so I took the class, I got in there, and I began to realize what it was. So like it was an art class, and I'm like, oh, like bet, like I love art, right? Like all the way up into high school or to high school, I had been thriving at my art classes. And I don't say this boastfully, but I'd always been getting, praise and recommendations or whatever from my art teachers. And so when I got into high school graphic design, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like it's an actual art class, but digitally. Like we actually get to do stuff digitally. And the teacher had us doing these exercises that were kind of like outside of my wheelhouse of know-how, first of all, and then outside my wheelhouse of interest. And so he had us doing like self-portraits, and he would kind of like get the pictures of ourselves, put them on the computer. He would like he would kind of like alter it a little bit to where we were a little bit more like tone. I can't explain it, but like tones of grays and stuff, so it was a little easier to draw, and so on and so forth. And I remember that was the first time I was really introduced to gradient pencils. So my medium had kind of changed in a sense then too, because up until then I'd always been drawing with a single pencil or pen or markers or color pencils, whatever. And so when I heard of gradient pencils, I was like, well, that's weird and different. Like, what are these? And so I picked those up, and long story short, he ends up getting us on the computer and says, okay, we're going to actually do some graphic design work. And I'm like, okay, like hence the name of the class. Let's see what this is. So we get on there and we start designing like just stuff. And he just gives us kind of like creative freedom and says, hey, just design whatever you want. It's just a project, whatever. Bring it to me when you're done. And yeah, at the time I was doing, if you haven't noticed my guitar back there, I was in a band, right? So I was doing like, we had like a metal band going on at the time. And so I, let me get this out of the way. Like anybody would, any teenage kid would, I started designing stuff for my band, like CD covers, like, album covers, if you will. Long story short, I just kept on practicing. Like it created this passion inside of me to keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. And I just created more and more art pieces. Social media at the time, for those of you who are around my age, MySpace was huge. So I was creating things for like our MySpace page and banners for like our MySpace page and all kinds of promotional assets that were very early on to be used as digital assets. And so that was kind of the spark of like creating images and brands and stuff for myself. And at the time, it was fun. Fast forward, I then started to do it more professionally. I remember, I'll never forget, I just got married, and I wanted to so badly still be in the like the band scene, right? And my younger brother, he comes up to me, and I'm married, newly wed with a young, my first daughter. And he comes up to me and he's like, hey man, like I got it. Like I know what you can do to still be in kind of the scene, but like without being in the scene. I was like, yeah, what is it? He's like, dude, there's this band and they want you to create a logo for them. And I'm like, yeah, I've never done that before, but yeah, sure, like let's try it. So knowing Photoshop is my only digital medium, I go on there and I create this logo for them and I give it to them, and they ended up paying me, I think it was $45. I could be wrong, maybe 35. This was close to 2 decades ago, roughly. And so they pay me like $35, $45, and they go off like, and I'm like, cool, like that was fun. And so from that, I kind of sparked something, one in me and then two in the market, right? Because people were like, where did you get that logo? And that logo's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And more bands started coming to me. At the time, though, I was not creating it in the least bit correctly, right? Because I was using Photoshop, first of all. For those of you who don't understand how incorrect that is, let's just say that it's like trying to carve a turkey with a saw, right? Just not the way you're supposed to. Like it gets the job done, not the way you're supposed to do it, though. But anyway, I learned the hard way how to do it. Later on down the road, we can probably get into that if I have time. But yeah, long story short, I started doing it for band after band after band after band. And funny thing is, that first band that I ended up doing it for, they actually ended up getting signed to a big label who then kept using that logo. And like I ended up seeing my work in like bigger stores, like in the mall and at Walmarts and Targets, and like a very funny story. And then I ended up like collaborating with bands and labels that also put my work in stores and stuff. It was pretty cool. Fast forward, I knew that I had a passion for it. By this time, I'm, in my early 20s, and I knew that I had this burning passion and desire for graphic design and stuff like that. And so I kept doing it, even on the side professionally. Like I had my full-time jobs, which were like blue collar jobs, warehouse kind of stuff, assembly line kind of stuff. I'll probably get into some of that stuff. But I always kept graphic design on the side as kind of a labor of love kind of thing, because I wasn't getting paid very much for it. But it was enough to kind of, like honestly, my love for it just kept me going. And then the money on top was just the cherry on top, which again wasn't much. And yeah, that was the first time that I had really left my job to go and pursue that full time, which was like in my early 20s. I didn't know how to run a business. I knew how to design and stuff, didn't know how to really run a business. So that one ended up kind of falling flat. And I went back to working, and fast forward again, was like kind of in and out of jobs. Well, I held this one job down very, very long. And it was for a car manufacturing company known as Toyota. So if you didn't know this, you know now, I actually used to build trucks. So like Tundras, Tacomas, the Toyota Tundras, Toyota Tacomas, and a little bit of the Sequoias, I believe. I was on the assembly line. I'll actually, if I have a photo, I do have a photo. I'm going to post it here when I can. But yeah, I was actually on the assembly line, if you can believe that. And like, I should have the photo up here. That was me like underneath the bed of a truck. Like the trucks would go overhead, and like I was responsible for like building, like installing the heat shields for the mufflers so like the undercarriage wouldn't burn up and stuff like that. That and like a lot of other processes down the line. But like that right there was what I used to do. So there was actually this magazine company, which is how this photo got taken. There was this magazine company called, gosh, I forgot the name now. The Awesomer. They went in and they were like, yeah, we're going to take some photos of some of the assembly workers, and just don't mind us, keep doing what you're doing. And I remember they came and they were like standing there for at least like 30 minutes, dude, just like taking photos of me. And I was like, whatever, like I'm just a robot basically. So I was just continuing to build. And but I'm so glad that they did that, because it actually gave me this very nice looking photo, right, that I can now share with the world and say, hey, this is where I started, and this is where I am now. And so anyway, long story short, in and out of jobs like that, held this one down for a while. And then I started doing, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go design full time again. Jumped out of the whole corporate world again. I was doing sales at that time. I had left the assembly line stuff and I started doing sales for Toyota. So I was doing Toyota Motor sales. Yeah, I was a car salesman, if you put that together. And so started doing that for a while. Realized quickly that I did not like that. Not the sales part, just what we were selling, right? Because we're all in the sales game. As Grant Cardone says, we're all in the sales game. We're all selling something, whether an idea or whatever, ourselves. But I just didn't like what I was selling, cars. And so I took a leap of faith again, and I started my own graphic design agency professionally, like very professionally, to my degree that I knew how. I was very serious about it when it got like DBAs and all that kind of stuff, like some legal action, nothing too crazy. Opened up like a bank account and stuff for the business, and I was like, you know what, I'm all in. Started doing graphic design work. It was very good. I think we hit close to 100,000 my first year. So I was ecstatic. You know what I mean? I was doing what I loved, and I was getting paid at the time, close to what I was making at the plant. So I was like, dude, I'm ecstatic. Actually, it was more than what I was making at the plant. And I was ecstatic. I think we did actually, I'm probably over selling it. I think I did like 80,000 that year, which was right at what I was making at the plant. So I didn't have to work 12 hours a day. I got to see my family all the time, and I was doing what I love. So it was like a win-win-win, right? Longer story short, and I might just change the title of this one, dude. Like I haven't even gotten into the pixel perfect trap topic. So I'm just going to change this one to like introduction to like the Design Secrets podcast, right? With Tim. So anyway, I'm I now start my new graphic design job, right? And I call it I forgot what it was called. It was called Stunning Creative. I start Stunning Creative, and if you're wondering why my mic is here, like right in the forefront of me, it's because I don't have my ideal mic that I'm working on getting. It should be in here pretty soon, but we're gonna work with this one because it's got like one of those side captures. Anyway, so I start Stunning Creative, I think that's what it's called. And I'm kind of like bouncing all over the place. I'm just helping like anybody, small mom and pop shops that have like online presences that want to like elevate their online presence. And I get pretty decent at like learning how to make websites, right? Find out what page builders are, blah, 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 blah. I finally figure out that you don't have to know like coding and stuff, which I ended up learning on down the road anyway. But so, yeah, I started just building websites for anybody and everybody that's willing to take me on. So I'm literally there like using my sales skills, right? I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling people. And I made sure to like get even, well, at least I wanted one of those, like those corporate phones that you have like all these kind of like, please hold, and you have like 10 different hold lines and all that kind of stuff. It was funny. And so, yeah, had like the printed pins and mugs and stuff like that. I was a business owner. And so I was cold calling people like, you know, hey, I can, you know, help you with the website, blah, 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 blah. And I was working on my elevator pitch every single day. Long story short, I ended up getting like several clients right out the gate. And it was like the first year was phenomenal. I couldn't ask for a better start to a year in business. The second year, this is about 2018. The second year is about 2019. And I stumbled upon this one person known as Sam Ovens. Some of you might know him. He actually comes from the ClickFunnels community, I think. I'm actually 90% positive, 99% positive he does. And so I stumbled upon this guy, Sam Ovens, and he kind of like, he gives me a new perspective, but like, and I'm still to this day, I'm very grateful for it. But it just kind of threw me for a twist because I became so lost with my direction after that point. Like I was like, okay, I got to go niche. Like I got to niche down and I got to find like certain people and help them. And like, where am I going to go? And I ended up falling into like the real estate niche. I think more so because my dad, he's actually like a custom home builder. Well, works for custom home builders. So like he actually goes and like he's got a crew and they, you know, help build these beautiful, immaculate custom homes. I mean, like $1 million homes. And if you live in Texas, like $1 million homes are freaking huge. Like they're big. Yeah, I've been to Cali and I've seen some $1 million homes, right? And like the ones, if you take Cali money and you bring it to Texas, like you can build twice as big of a home, right? Just think of it that way. And so I ended up niching down into like the real estate sector, specifically custom home builders. And dude, I loved it. It was cool. I got to work with these guys that were building homes and making their websites, and they would send me all their photos of like their beautiful homes, and like we would create beautiful websites primarily because they had beautiful photography, and like it was great, and that was cool. But then I started to, Sam was preaching about like the consulting side, and I'm like, I mean, I'm like really a done for you. Like I don't know how to really transition. It's like it was like I was not prepared for Sam's teachings yet. Like what I'm doing now, if I knew now, like, hey, I need to teach people about design and like design theory and design psychology and stuff like that, it would have been a totally different story like 6-7 years ago now. But at the time, like I was just done for you. I was just building websites. I didn't even know about funnels yet at the time. Imagine that. And so, anyway, fast forward, we kind of hit a halt with my design agency. People like it's like the end of the year. We're like the second year into business, and it's like the end of the year, and people are just closing the books, dude. Like hard. They're like, yeah, like we need a website. Contact me next year. Right. We're like at the end of 2020. We're like at the end of 2018, I think, and they're like, yeah, contact me like in 2019, like in January, February, whatever. And it's like November, December-ish. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm distraught because I'm working for myself, right? I got my wife, my kids. And I'm like, dude, it was getting rough. Like it was getting dark. And I was like, I need to figure out a way. Like somebody needs to take me up. I do good work. And so, putting all my sales skills in the forefront of like getting out of my own way and putting what I know there. It's like, hey, like sell what people want, not what you want, right? And so I just blatantly asked somebody one time. I said, well, because he's like, yeah, we could definitely use a new website. I like the examples you sent over in your cold DM, by the way. But we're just not like, contact us next year. And I was like, so I mean, before we go, like, what is it that you need? And he said, Tim, what I would really love is just more clients. I would really love more over a website. I would love more clients. And I said, well, if I can use your website to get you more clients, I don't even know where that came from, honestly. But I said, if I can use your website to get you more clients, I think I was just trying to sell the site, right? If I can use your website to get you more clients, would you be interested in a new website? He said, all day. If you can use my website or create me a website that's going to in turn get me more clients, more people through my doors or showing up to my homes, by all means, let's talk tomorrow. I said, okay, let's do that. So I didn't take him up on a follow-up call or anything, but I went and I hit the lab again and I started learning, okay, how can I do this? Like, what does this entail? And I stumbled upon a little thing called SMM, or social media marketing. There's plenty of names out there. I'm not going to name any. That really kind of got me, and it doesn't rhyme with Guy Fopez or however you want to say it. I never actually took his courses or anything like that. But yeah, there was social media marketing, and I was like, oh, okay, like, social media marketing, blah, blah, blah. And then Sam Ovens had just come in the picture too. And, he's teaching like all kinds of acquisition models in terms of like paid media and stuff. And so I said, okay, let me figure out how this thing works. And so I started outsourcing immediately because I was like, I don't know how to run ads. I can build them the website, but I don't know how to run ads. So I'm going to find somebody that can run ads. Long story short, I ended up finding some people out of like, I think they were out of like, I don't even remember, like Africa somewhere. I really don't remember. There was some people out of like the Philippines at one point, I think. Like I was just trying to, go like cost effective, right? Like overseas help. And like they were okay. Nothing substantial though. Definitely couldn't retain a client with what we were getting. So it was kind of a rough start, but then I found this one guy, and he really opened my eyes to like how it all works and how you could acquire them and how you could retain them. And he also ran really good Facebook ads. And so I said, hey, I'm just curious, if I were to like go and basically be your boots on the ground, like if I were to go and sell it, like I have my own business, but can I white label yours? And he was like, oh yeah, all day. Like all day. If you want to throw clients at me and like you just throw your fee on top, like all day. I was like, okay, bet. So that's what we did. That's what I did, right? I just went out and I found people that needed my services at that point. And actually, I think I went back to the guy and I said, hey, like, I'm ready to roll. Like, I've produced smaller results for these people, and I think we can make this work for you. Long story short, I started doing this for everybody within the custom home building niche. I sit down with them, talk with them. I put them on a retainer for a couple $1,000s a month. They give us an ad spend. We set everything up for them. So like we get like a setup fee. We charge a setup fee in the front, and we set everything up for them from their website to the ads and everything. We start running ads for them. We get them on retainers for like anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month. This is back in 2018. Yeah, 2019, something like that. And dude, it's going phenomenally well. Like phenomenally well. I went from kind of struggling, not knowing where I was going to land to, because again, design stuff is good, but if it doesn't have an ROI behind it, like it's a hard sell. And so started doing really well. We were getting people results. Things were great. And then I experienced what Russell coins as the first slap, right? Facebook changes the algorithm. Our ads that were once local and like really showing up into relevant audiences and all that kind of stuff then became national. Like anybody searching for our terms and keywords and all that kind of stuff, it just for some reason went national. So like when I had a certain client that wanted to build homes in a certain area in a certain state, which was Texas, our ads were showing to people way out of state in another state, like just completely irrelevant. So like we were getting inquiries, they were getting inquiries, and they were like, yeah, I'm in, Michigan, or I'm in DC. And we were like, no, we don't, like, they were telling us we don't build out there. And I'm like, yeah, I know you don't build out there. Like we've been running your ads for a while. Like we would know that. Long story short, it just started to really tank. So like everything got kind of cut in half. They said, hey, we want to keep you, right? Because we've seen the results. We're going to cut the retainer down in half. So like all my accounts just kind of like got reduced. And I was shook, dude. I was like, this is terrible. Like this is terrible. Long story short, I just really didn't love the model of the agency, like the agency model, the social media aspect of it. We were starting to scale. We were getting on more members and stuff. I mean, more team members. But I just really didn't love it. Like I wasn't even in love with what I was doing. It was just kind of like I just felt hollow inside. And so what I really started to fall in love with was what happened after somebody clicked on the ad, which was funnels. Like they click on an ad and like you're supposed to send them down a funnel. And so I started hearing that word funnel, and I was like, dude, what in the world is a funnel? I think Sam's first when I first heard it, it was called a fragmentation funnel, right? In his course. And I was like, dude, what is a fragmentation funnel? Like what is a funnel, first of all, let alone a fragmentation? And so fast forward again, right? I get picked up by this guy, Hunter Thompson. Shout out to you, Hunter, if you're watching. And dude, this guy kind of reintroduces me to the funnel world. Like I'd known about it. I dabbled in ClickFunnels before, and no offense, I'm a huge ClickFunnels fan now. Like I will bang the drum about ClickFunnels all day, every day. But at the time, like I was not impressed. We're talking about Classic too, some years ago, back in 2018 or so. And so like I just wasn't with it yet, and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna pay this amount of money for like this when I can just do it off of another platform. And so like whatever. And so Hunter though kind of like brought me back into the Russell Brunson world and the ClickFunnels in general. Fast forward again, he's looking for an opening, and when I say he introduced me, it's because I knew a guy in. So like, long story short, again, I'm still doing these websites and stuff, and I find this one guy, and he's doing big things in my city, and he interviews Grant Cardone, and I'm like, dude, that's huge. Like, I want to be associated with this guy who's interviewing Grant Cardone. Reach out to him, and I'm like, hey, dude, like, you don't have to pay me, but like, what can I do to work with you? Like, I just want to be in association with you because you're in association with other people. And so he was like, yeah, man, like, come on, you can do like, he was in commercial real estate. So like syndication. Um, he's like, yeah, man, you can be, I forgot what the position was called, but it's basically like entry level, just kind of like, I don't really know what it was either. But like I went with him and I would get on some calls, whatever. And he was like, I was like, dude, I actually make websites. Like, your website presence is kind of lame. Like, let me revamp your entire online presence. So he ends up paying me like full price to revamp his entire online presence. Good guy, man. Really good guy. Abel, if you're out there listening, dude, thank you. And so, dude, we revamped the heck out of him. I'll even drop one of his logos here that we ended up doing for him. I like the concept more than what he actually went with, but whatever. But anyway, he takes me on under his wing and we're doing it, bro. And man, I was, I wasn't employed by him. I was just I wouldn't call it pro bono, but it was like, I was just kind of like trying to get my feet wet and whatever, just trying to network with his network and stuff. And I saw this job posting one time from Hunter. Didn't know him at the time, but it said, I knew who he was because Abel had mentioned it before. He said, yeah, I just joined his program, this guy Hunter, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, or actually one day I'm scrolling and I'm just kind of looking for work and like client wise. And I see this guy's posting, Hunter's posts, and he's like looking for a marketing manager. And I'm like, dude, and I look through his things and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for a funnel builder and like all this kind of stuff. And he's paying like $100,000 a year. And I'm like, dude, I need this job. Like I need this job. So I go to Abel and I'm like, dude, like this is the guy that you bought his course. He's like, yeah, I'm in his group. I'm in his like mastermind thing. And I'm like, bro, put in the good work for me, man. And like, I will forever be in debt to you. Long story short, after a grueling interview process, and I was actually going through several other interviews, mind you, they make an offer. Hunter makes an offer. I accept, gladly accept. And so I start working for raisingcapital.com as their marketing manager. And I was actually employed. I take that all back. I was actually employed by another a commercial real estate marketing agency based out of LA or Glendale. And Daniel, if you're listening, bro, thank you. And so that's why I was looking for the other opportunity, was because like I loved Connect, but it just like it wasn't me again. Like I kind of felt like I was in that rut again. So anyway, started looking, found Hunter, found the job, got the offer, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I got hired, he's like, dude, like, do you know, well, we had been talking about it on the interview process, but he's like, do you know Russell Brunson and all this kind of stuff, like his books? And I was like, yeah, like I know the, like his like traffic secrets and all that stuff back here. And I was like, yeah, like I know that stuff. And like I had read them like loosely, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to take you to Funnel Hacking Live and it's going to be awesome. And I was like, dude, like, yeah, let's go. Like, what is Funnel Hacking Live? I don't even know what that is. And so I get on board. He's like, I bought your ticket, like sends me all the confirmation stuff. And he's like, yeah, we're flying you out to Orlando in September. During that time, we moved from my house that we had built to this house that I'm in right now. And we just moved in and it was time to leave like a week later or something like that. So we, my wife and I, we pack up, go to Orlando, and I experienced Funnel Hacking Live 2022, I believe it was. 2022. Crazy. It was crazy. Or was it 2021? I don't really remember. Crazy experience. And it just changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I was sold out for Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels, Todd Dickerson. Like I was sold out, dude. Completely sold out. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm on funnels again. And so reopened an account with ClickFunnels, blah, blah, blah. Started working really heavy with Hunter, obviously, as his marketing manager, and just building funnel after funnel after funnel, and starting to see like how email marketing worked and how everything, automations and like everything that I had already known from like Sam and previous trainings and like experiences and just wisdom by the grace of God. It was all starting to kind of really come together. Fast forward again. And I get really sick. Something kind of crept back up that I really don't understand what it was again, because it had happened before back in like 2017. which caused me to leave Toyota motor manufacturing and go sell cars. Like, long story short, it's going to be the title of this episode, was I lost a ton of weight. Like, I had gotten sick from my stomach somehow, and I just lost a tremendous amount of weight over like a short period of time. Like, within months, 2-3 months, I lost like 50, 60 pounds. Crazy. And I was a stick, bro. Like, I'm not that big now, but like, I've never really been like a small person, I guess. And I mean, like, during that time, 2017, I was like very, very skinny. I went from like 60 at the time, because I was like very active at work. So I was like 160 at the time. I dropped down to 130 pounds. So 30 pounds there. But the second time around was way more dramatic. I went from 175 to 119 pounds in 3 months. In 3 months. It was bizarre. Anyway, that caused me to just not perform ideally at work. And it just, I mean, rightfully so, right? I'm the weakest link in the chain, and I'm causing the whole team to kind of slow down. And so, with all due respect, Hunter's like, hey, dude, like, you know, we're going to give you a handsome severance, and dude, like, we wish you the best of luck. At the time, I couldn't see it, but it was a huge blessing in disguise, because that led me down the path of starting my real funnel business, my first real funnel business, which was Funnelside at the time. And I hit the ground running hard when I started feeling better. It took me a while, but after a couple of months, I started feeling better. My wife was supporting me and the kids. She picked up a job as a manager for a design agency. They were building websites, huge websites. And she was a project manager. She held it down for us. And so I'm deeply grateful for her, thankful to her. And dude, when I started to bounce back, man, I started hitting the ground running. I started calling up everybody that I knew, that I had networked with before. And I just applied all of my knowledge and just poured into them. And right out the gate, man, it was just divinely appointed. Like, it just, everything lined up so well. We just started selling high ticket funnel prices. I mean, we were not the lowest in the market. Like, our price point was $5,000. And I know there's people that have like $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 funnels. But like, for me, you know, when I started back in 2014, is that right? No, 2011, doing this digital stuff, right? Like my design stuff, $350 was a huge ask. I mean, I started with a $45 logo, right? Then it moved up over the years to $350 for like an insane amount of stuff that I was offering in that package. And so when I got to the point of offering $5,000 for a funnel, dude, I was ecstatic, man. And people like were just chomping at the bit, right? Because I'd been doing it for a while. So, you know, my work was decent at the time, right? Looking back in hindsight, I'm like, I would definitely change quite a few things. But they sold their products well. They got them an ROI. And as they say, you get paid in direct accordance to the impact that you have, right? So like, the bigger the impact, the bigger the pay. And so, you know, we were impacting people's businesses, people's bottom lines. And so we were getting paid pretty well for it. $5,000 per funnel. And so we did that for a while. And it wasn't until I connected with a buddy of mine from raisingcapital.com, Adam Carswell. Adam, dude, seriously, I owe you this one, bro. Connected with Adam, and he was like, yeah, man, like, I know you're all about design and stuff like that. He's like, you should check out this coach, Catherine Jones Lish, I believe her name is now. Catherine Jones at the time, she had this thing called design hacking. And dude, when I say that, like, what she stood for just gripped my soul, like she says, man, it just took me to another level, because I was like, I've always known this, right, in my core. I told you the story that there's something about design that just captivated me. And over the years, I started to realize it was more the psychology behind what design and visual elements were doing to me, right? Like, yes, I'm in love with the design, the visual aspect of things, but the psychology behind it. And y'all are going to find out if you keep following me on Design Secrets podcast, the design psychology behind things is what really infatuates me about design. It's being able to influence people's perceptions and emotions and actions, like the book that I'm writing talks about, right? It's like being able to influence that is mind-boggling for me, bro. Like I can't even wrap my head around it sometimes. Talk about what is it called? There's a word for it. It's called subliminal marketing, subliminal messaging, right? That stuff, whenever I started realizing what that stuff was, and neural marketing and all that kind of stuff, dude, oh my God, like my mind blew up internally. And so he led me on to Catherine Jones, Lish, and dude, it just like sparked this fire that had always kind of been there, but I never really knew it existed. And I was like, bro, I need to tell people about what I know. And this is what I mean. Had I known now, or had I had the vantage point now that I had back in 2017, 18, whatever it was when I first discovered Sam's stuff, I would have been on another path. Maybe. I don't know. This is God's timing, God's divine timing. So I can't really argue with it much. But yeah, all that to say that I'm here now and I have a mission, and that is to share my knowledge in design psychology, the neuroscience of design and how it affects us and how it influences us, whether we know it or like it or not. Dude, the things you can put in a funnel, the emotions, the actions that you could evoke in somebody based solely off of an image or an illustration or of some visual context to the copies, the sales copy that you put on a page, is mind-blowing. And I've seen it time and time again, where we'll take somebody's offer and we won't change a lick of copy. Like literally, we won't change a lick of the sales copy. We'll just redesign it and we will represent it in a more professional, polished way. And you're talking about taking somebody's $500 offer and, now charging $5,000 for that same exact offer. Like it's crazy. It is crazy. Anyway, all that to say, the title of this episode is now called Long Story Short. This is my story. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And throughout the rest of this podcast, for days, weeks, months, years to come, Lord willing, that's my mission. I'm going to be bringing on a whole lot of really big rock stars in the game right now. Some of them that are like, I'm just blessed that they even agreed to come on and chat with me about this stuff, and I'm so honored to have them on in the future. But that's my mission, to share with you guys what I know, what I've learned. I mean, we're talking about for almost 15 years of doing this stuff professionally, right? Maybe not to the degree that I would have liked professionally in the beginning, but by definition, professionally. And so many pitfalls that I've learned along the way, working with every type of platform there's out there, from WordPress to the, ever unforgiving platforms of like Wix and Weebly and Squarespace and all different kinds of page builders within WordPress, right? Gutenberg, Elementor, all the other ones. And then even working with some of the biggest, fastest growing marketing platforms out there today, right? ClickFunnels, my personal favorite, high level, fast growing competitor of ClickFunnels. Yeah, so I have a lot to say about each and every one of those. Each and every one of those very nuanced in things to avoid, fast tracks on how to get results quickly from each and every one of those platforms. And yeah, that's my mission, to share with you guys how to create success, and more importantly, how to get an ROI, like without having to go through the 15 years of basically hell that I went through, right? For all those years. And then just the advancements of technology where we have right now. So like AI was never a thing, right? Up until like 5 years ago or so, it really started to kind of hit and take the market by storm. We didn't have that, right? We couldn't do anything like we can do now. So it's like, if you're stumbling upon this podcast, this episode or whatever, Hopefully I talk about it more in the future, but like the opportunity that we have right now is crazy with AI, with just the technology that it is today, right? These marketing platforms and these page builders and all this stuff, which by the way, I alluded to a little bit earlier. I ended up learning CSS coding, a little bit of HTML, Java, all that kind of stuff. And it really does take your ability to design things to another level. I just learned it because I had another weird infatuation with that kind of stuff. And I think it started with MySpace. That's when I really started to kind of code stuff. But yeah, anyway, the point of my, the big idea with my designing is to create experiences. So like Joe Dispenza says this, he says, the end of any experience is an emotion. And that's 100% true. The end of any experience is an emotion, right? We're more excited going to the vacation than we are coming back from the vacation. We're more excited going to the movie than we are coming back from the movie after we've watched it. The end result of any experience is an emotion. And if you can evoke emotion, if you can instill emotion in somebody while they're on your sales page, my friend, you've opened a door, a window to new opportunities. We're talking about doing this stuff before they've even read a single line of text. If you can stimulate their trust, if you can ethically hijack their perceived value for your product, right? Let's say you have a $500 product, but the way that they see it, because the way you're presenting it, they view it as a $5,000 product. Dude, you don't even really have to argue or defend your argument with why you're worth $5,000. They've already seen it in their mind. You get what I'm saying? Like, you follow me? The power in that, just to have somebody like, oh, we're worth $5,000. It's like, oh yeah, I knew that. I could already see that. I didn't even have to, like, I wasn't even guessing. I was really willing to pay $5,000 before you even said it, because perceivably, like, that's what I got from you. That's crazy, right? Mind blown. So anyway, that's kind of the big idea, the objective behind Design Secrets, designsecrets.com, designsecrets.com, right? Showing people how to do that, shortcut that, achieve those results without all the trial and error like I did. And so anyway, that's probably it for this video, for this episode. First episode of Design Secrets podcast. So I will see you all on the next one. Peace.